you get a notification?
I'm already receiving far too many notifications. I think I'd rather play in person.
Yeah, but that's how you found my dad, remember? Playing online Scrabble on your computer.
Well, that was by no means my preferred form of communication.
Look, guys, we don't need to replace everything in Roy's life with a digital version.
Is it true? I saw your name on the Batwatch group, but I didn't dare believe it actually happened.
What is it now?
Oh, more bat chat.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 236 of The Talk of the Street, another official Coronation Street catch-up podcast that better be careful because the 15 megatons of TNT we're currently sitting on might just be about enough to shake the dirt off the back of the street dial van. I'm Gavin.
I have no idea what I'm drinking.
It's something orange, isn't it?
Yeah, I ordered unsweetened iced tea at KFC.
I tell you,
This is not unsweetened iced tea.
the KFC drive-thru is a random chicken generator.
I cannot figure, and Stella and I could not figure out what this is. It's fizzy. It's orange. It tastes vaguely of raspberry.
Give a little sip of it. I'll soon tell you. Oh, dear God, what is that?
I don't know.
That's kind of raspberry.
Yeah, but there's no raspberry soda.
I've had that before. Whatever it is, it's familiar.
I think they might have like a raspberry iced tea that's fizzy. Mm-hmm. That's not what I ordered though.
No.
And it doesn't look like this.
No.
So maybe it's just that the flavoring needs to be replaced or something. They need to change the bag.
And the colouring.
Right. Well, if they change the bag, then the coloring would be right.
One would hope.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm still drinking it, even though I don't know what it is.
It's not bad. It's just
And
not.
This is why we're in a pandemic. Because people, even smart people, will drink something they have no idea what it is.
The best way to get somebody to drink something is to take a sip of it and go, oh, that's disgusting. Because people will go, oh, give us a taste. I know I would. No, I've gone to KFC drive-thru so many times, and whatever you order, they just grab some chicken or they grab some stuff. How much was the order? About $20. We'll throw roughly $20 worth of things in a bag and give you it. And if it's somewhat close to what you ordered, then job's a good one.
Where did we have a problem with, and we still don't know what the other thing was? Oh, it was Big John steak and onions, wasn't it? Then we went to the drive-thru, and I ordered something with chicken, and neither one of the sandwiches had chicken in it.
See, the problem was I was driving,
Yes.
and I'm closest to the speaker.
Yes.
So I should be the one that's ordering.
Yes.
And you just insisted on shouting out an order. And I think that just confused everyone because I was like a 7 and a 5.
Yeah, but they couldn't understand you. The guy literally said, I'm sorry, I don't understand you.
Because we were talking over each other as we were trying to order it.
And so that's when I started saying, no, I said the 7. 7.
Listeners, can you believe that Helen was talking over me?
I wasn't talking over you at the point, though. You should have put on your American accent, and then I would have gotten chicken.
I will save that for special occasions. And I'm sorry, Big John steak and onion is not one of those occasions.
Yes, but I am.
Anyway, how are you this week?
Yeah, I'm all right. Happy
Happy New Year.
New Year. Back to work. Plowing through, trying to get this auction ready for our mid-February release. It's, kind of the tense time now. So on Tinterhooks, was cataloging a signed vinyl of the Hamilton mixtapes, and I made the mistake of snapping a picture of it and sending it to Stelly. So, so now she wants a vinyl of the Hamilton mixtapes signed by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, well, tell her to save up.
And she has high expectations because for her friend's Secret Santa, she finally got her Secret Santa present, and it's a signed picture of David Tennant.
Well, that is a Secret Santa. If you get it in January, that's a super Secret Santa. Yeah, she needs another picture of David Tennant in the room
Yes.
to go along with the picture of George W. Bush. She's a strange, strange girl.
That was a joke, though. But it will go nicely with her David Tennant blanket and the giant cardboard cutout of David Tennant that looms over her bed.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
I sometimes think it's a real person sometimes at night.
I frequently think it's a real person, especially when their light's off and I'm walking by her room to get to my room and you just see this looming figure
silhouette.
in the shadow. Yeah. You don't want to be walking by that room after you've watched a scary movie, for example.
No. It's bad enough, the scary dolls.
Anyway.
If I ever meet David Tennant in person, I will be absolutely terrified.
Is he that tall?
Yes. He is tall.
Is he? How tall is he? Because he's over 6 foot.
Yes.
And that cutout would lead us to believe that he is over 6 foot.
Yes. He is over 6 foot.
David Tennant.
Height. Isn't this what you come to Coronation Street podcast for, listeners?
Come at what?
Coronation Street podcasts.
No idea what that is. He's 6 foot and 3/4 inches.
Yes. So that's
just over 6 foot.
That's quite tall. Nearly as tall as my first husband, who is 6'6".
Well, that's nowhere near as tall as he's nearer my height than Eli's height.
6'3". That's only 3 inches off.
He's 6 foot and 3/4 inches.
Oh, 6 3/4. I thought it was 6'3".
No, he's 6 foot fuck all basically. Anyway, shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
And give us some of that explosive
Oh
Corrie
wait,
news.
how was your week?
Nobody cares. Talks over me all the time.
Be careful, I'm going to put a scary doll in your bed.
There is no good answer to that.
There must be something in the water on the street. Jenny Alpine has announced she is pregnant with her third
Is she
child.
really?
She is.
I didn't know that.
She says they won't find out the gender ahead of time, but whatever the baby is, they'll get a Corrie-inspired name like Big Sister Hilda.
Is that how they're doing it?
That's how they're doing it with these two. Her oldest is Albert.
Well, another Corrie name.
So I don't know if they got the Albert from Corrie. It is a Corrie name, but she has specifically said that Hilda was named after Hilda on Coronation Street. So, and she has said that this next baby will have a Coronation Street name. Hopefully not Tyrone, because then her husband might have questions.
Maybe racist Kelly. More of that later.
Or Irish Tina. That's a beautiful name.
Irish Tina McAlpine.
Katie McGlynn may have left the street, but she's still tripping the boards. Our former Sinead is making her stage debut in the UK tour of Peter James's Wish You Were Dead. She'll be playing the role of Cleo Morey. So that's another Coronation Street person deciding to try their hand on the stage. And good luck to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't she on a show briefly for a while?
She was on Hollyoaks for a bit with brown hair.
Oh.
I think she was a baddie. I don't know. I never watched Hollyoaks.
Isn't Hollyoaks cancelled now?
I don't know.
Who knows?
As a man approaching his 50s, the less I know about Hollyoaks, the better.
And finally, while we know the current storylines have been getting viewers down, it's allegedly been affecting the cast as well.
No?
Ian McLeod has hinted that no one will take his calls anymore for fear that they'll be the next victim of Stephen Reed.
That's why they don't take his calls.
That's why he thinks they won't take his calls.
Right.
So,
Of course, he thinks that the My Three Dads thing is hilarious.
Yes,
so,
and that people like it.
yeah.
He's
a
like
party of one.
he's like the producers of Morbius who thought all the Morbius memes meant that they should put Morbius back in theaters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's exactly the same thing. It's like we're making fun of the My Three Dads thing by using the My Two Dads, a homophobic sitcom from the 90s.
Tell me you've never watched My Two Dads without telling me you've never watched My Two Dads, Ian McLeod.
Seriously. Shame the blot on Paul Reiser's career.
And Greg Evigan.
Yeah, but mostly Paul Reiser. And that's
Who was
Corrie.
the wee lassie?
Who knows?
Nobody remembers the wee lassie.
Yeah, and she was the my of my two dads.
Wee lassie and my two dads.
Stacey Keenan.
Oh, that's right.
What has she done lately? She must have done something lately.
I've got a horrible feeling.
She's my age.
She is not.
Yeah. No, she's a year older than me. Never mind. She also goes by the name Anastasia Love-Sigorsky.
That's worrying.
Yes, she's a former... Yeah, she changed her name to Anastasia Love-Sigorsky to become a deputy district attorney.
Oh, that's not what I thought she changed her name for. It's probably best that we move swiftly on from that to, well, Podcast for Coffee. Thank you to Canadian Helen for her coffees this week.
Thank you, Canadian Helen. What happened to Australian Helen? Or New Zealander Helen?
I assume they're both fine.
Or British Helen? I
They're
need
all
all my
fine.
Helens. I need my gang of
Happy
Helens.
Hogmanay and Happy New Year to Helen and Gavin. Hope that 2023 is a wonderful year, and thank you for a great year of the Talk of the Street podcast.
So far, so good.
Thank you so
Helen.
much, Canadian Helen, for your very generous donation. The Talk of the Street is and always will be free on your podcast provider and the YouTubes. But if you appreciate the show and you want to offer your support, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, and we'll be very appreciative, won't we, Helen?
Yes, we will.
Just like we were for Canadian Helen.
Absolutely. Especially grateful if your name is Helen.
Other Helens can apply. And now, this.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Auld Lang Syne phobia.
What was that again?
Auld Lang Syne phobia.
Okay. You did say Old Lang Syne. It sounded like Old Gang Time.
Nope.
Old Lang Syne phobia. Who's afraid of New Year's Eve? That's probably Brian.
That's right, this was Toya, suspicious of Imran disappearing at New Year. He said he didn't like the bells, and she said, that's right, you got Auld Lang Syne phobia. And he said, I'd never know what to do with my arms. I was Gavin, and you were, they call me Mr. Tibbs.
They call me Mr. Tibbs. Why did I say that?
Because Mr. Sidney Poitier
had just
passed
deceased.
away.
Yes.
Your New Year's resolution was to start making daily lists again. How did that work out?
Well, it worked out until like June, and then I stopped because I was ill, and then just never picked up again. But I have started again, and that's why we have folded socks.
Excellent. A yearly reminder that we own voggle.co.uk. I think I've been charged for that recently, which would make sense. I started a wee solo project while you were at Sing 2 and realised that I hate talking to myself into a microphone, which is a shame because it happens quite a bit.
Aw.
Avi and Imran do their best to be inconspicuous to their significant others as they meet to discuss the possibility that they may have gone halfers on a baby.
If it makes you feel any better, I hated Sing 2.
But it had that bit from Chop Suey, System of a Down in it, didn't it?
That was the only good part.
A hungover New Year's Day driving lesson spells trouble for Emma and Faye and a poor old man just trying to get home with his ginger nuts. Sam discovers a new interest as he learns chess from Mary and Roy while Nick helicopters nearby at all times. Adam's boundary dispute case sets wheels in motion that result in Lydia turning up drunk to a meeting and Sarah going back on the pill. During renovations of Speed Dial, Zidane and Mariam discover that a spark still exists between them. I quite liked Mariam. What happened to her? She left.
She did.
Tim's health kick takes him to an appointment with Dr. Gadas and a shocking discovery that threatens his relationship with Sally.
What?
That started this time last year.
Oh, God.
And went on to about this time this year.
Forever. I kind of miss it now. Considering the shit we had to watch this week.
Simpler times. I quite enjoyed it this week. Shona has space on her speed dial. Peter vapes And Hope definitely put gum in Chloe's hair. Our moment of the week was Roy and Mary playing chess. And our boring moment of the week was Craig just standing there.
We have yet to see Mary play chess again.
And that was Coronation Street. And the talk of the street. This time last year. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Now, we have an extra half hour to talk about this week.
Well, it's an extra 22 minutes.
Where nothing much happened.
No.
But we have the Hogmanay one to talk about. So we have that and this week. So let's jump into it. Our first storyline this week is Mobile Roy. So on Saturday, on New Year's Eve, Mary rustles up a Hogmanay party at the Rovers, at which Roy reveals his closest held secret. He's been studying for a VBRV, which is the Volunteer Bat Roost Visitor qualification, and his resolution is to complete it. I had to rewind that I don't know how many times to hear what Brian called it. Couldn't work it out, and then eventually stuck the subtitles on. On Monday, Brian is in Nina's roles trying to recruit Shona to the Weatherfield Bat League thing when Roy comes downstairs, dressed, ready for a week-long camping trip rather than his assessment for his stupid qualification.
Right.
Meanwhile, Nina and Asha are chatting about Roy's assessment thing, and Asha says she wishes that they could be there to offer support or something. Nina thinks that she's joking, but Asha's for reals.
She is for reals.
Anything to do with hanging out with you, she says.
Aw.
So they have a wee smooch to celebrate.
Yes, a wee smooch.
So they head to Nina's Rolls to meet up with Brian. Roy's already left when they get a text from the assessor people to let them know that it's been cancelled because it's been pissing down with rain. How's Roy going to know about this? Asks Nina.
And he won't because he gave his phone to Sam.
So rather than just staying in Nina's Rolls and waiting for Roy to realise that there's nobody there.
Right.
Everyone
rushes to
off.
Roy's rescue.
And they'll regret that a little bit.
Yes, they will. And so will we.
So as this is going on, Roy is wandering around looking for his assessor people, and as he does so, he drops his flask into a stream and isn't quite able to retrieve it, even with a big stick.
Yes, a stream that's maybe 6 inches deep.
Right. Nina,
this will become important later.
Nina, Asha and Brian hightail it to the Bat Place and search for Roy, and it's getting dark when Nina spots his flask floating in the stream, and so for some reason she decides to run towards it as quickly as possible, flings herself in and bashes her head against a rock in the process.
A rock we do not see.
No, you hear it. You hear the thud when her head hits a rock that isn't there.
In 6 inches of water.
But I don't know what the rush was for her to run, and her Doc Martens as well, belting down that embankment towards the tiny little trickle, and she just threw herself at it.
Plonk. When Stelly was around 10, we were winter camping with our Girl Scout troop, and I can't remember why they were over there, but it was the middle of winter. The river was kind of iced over, but not iced over enough where she and her friend Izzy didn't fall into the freezing river. Mm-hmm. Deeper and for longer than Nina was in that stream. Mm-hmm. They both were able to get out and be fine enough for me to yell at both of them.
Right.
In the snow, in the ice. Neither one of them had to go to the hospital. Both of them were fine.
I'm not sure really what happened with Nina.
I don't...
I've watched it several times because it kind of made me laugh. It looked like she was deliberately
trying very hard to drown.
Right.
In order to try to make it believable. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't believable at all.
Not in the slightest.
And then, she's immediately pulled out by Brian, and yet she's drowned enough so that he has to give her CPR. What's going on here?
Brian shouts on Asha to call an ambulance while he himself spots an opportunity for a little bit of mouth-to-mouth action, which is enough to make Nina splutter back to life. And the ambulance...
and she spits out more water than is in that stream. What is going on? When the spoilers for this episode came out, and they were talking about, possible exit for Nina as drowning storyline approaches, I expected more than what we got.
Drowning in embarrassment, maybe.
Maybe. It's like What was the other storyline where they like built it up in the spoilers? Like, oh, this is going to be really intense. This is going to be a really shocking thing. And then it was nothing. They keep doing this to us.
Yeah, so you don't pay attention to it. You don't believe it.
No.
Because it's never as dramatic as they...
Right, but then it's a letdown and then you hate it. And then it looks stupid.
I don't know, even if this was described accurately, I think I would have still hated it. It was kind of funny, though.
It was hilarious.
Running down that embankment and these big clumpy dogs.
And then just...
plonking.
Those Doc Martens have better tread than that.
She's got arms, though. Put your arms out, Nina.
Right. No, it's just like...
She just planked into the water. Oh, dear. Anyway.
It's like she was Irish dancing into the water.
Panic over. She's still alive. So the ambulance arrives and it's enough to attract the attention of the lesser spotted Roy to the scene, who watches in shock as Nina being treated by paramedics and then is loaded into an ambulance.
You're going to get a lot of use out of this.
I'm going to be pressing this button all night.
Yeah.
So at the hospital, while waiting on Nina coming out of a CT scan, Roy is being too Roy, and Asha makes it clear that his reluctance to have a mobile phone has resulted in Nina nearly dying. Asha is far more pleasant to the paramedic, who she credits for saving Nina's life, even though it was Brian, and even though the paramedic says it was Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So Asha apologises to Roy for snapping, even though she didn't really. And then she goes to see Nina and tells her that she's decided that she knows what she wants to do with her life. She wants to be a paramedic now.
Yes, because she froze and was terrified and didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian knew what to do. So she wants to be a paramedic now.
Like Brian isn't.
Right.
So now she won't be so fucking useless the next time Nina runs into a stream to retrieve a flask.
And planks.
Nina thinks that this is a great idea. And later, Nina sees Roy, who has beaten himself up about what happened and has promised to take care of her. He said to her dad, and he said to her after she got her head kicked in,
right,
that he was going to make sure that none of this was going to happen ever again, and he's let her down.
How is Nina able to speak in coherent sentences now that she's had her second head wound?
Nina insists it's fine, but Roy looks like he's taken all this to heart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And all this is the drama that's required for Roy to get a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, David Nielsen's kind of red line was that Roy never gets a mobile phone.
That was his red line.
And he's been like that for years and years and years. This is why Roy doesn't have a mobile phone. That's because he says the character just wouldn't have it. So they decided, well, fuck that, let's give him a mobile phone.
He would have to have one eventually.
Right.
He can't be this much of a Luddite.
Right.
Because that doesn't make sense for the character to be that much of a Luddite.
But this is the thing that makes him get the phone. This is the whole reason why this is happening.
Right. Because Nina almost died again.
Right.
Well.
The point of all that is so that Roy gets a phone.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, as they're leaving hospital, Nina explains to Roy that Asha is planning on being a paramedic, but is worried about keeping a cool head in a crisis. Back at Nina's Rolls, Roy and Brian are chatting about getting a communication device to prevent this kind of potential tragedy from happening again, and Roy has his eyes on a pager. Brian isn't sure that you can still get a pager.
Because he is a drug dealer from the 1990s.
Oh, pig's tits, says Brian. Then Sam bursts in to thank Roy for his phone, which is perfect for all the projects that he's doing in sky gazing and stuff. And this seems to give Roy some food for thought, that it's not just a phone, there's a wealth of information here and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because he's complaining about people becoming troglodytes because of it.
Automatons.
Right. Yeah.
So Roy goes and buys a fucking phone. Nina is thrilled by this and immediately starts flooding him with very specific instructions on how to join the back group, send emojis, and how not to punctuate properly, because these are important day one facts for Roy to know. Asha tells her to wind her fucking neck and leave him alone. And if he wants to use punctuation, let him use punctuation.
Yeah.
I always use punctuation in my texts.
I almost always use punctuation in my texts. Sometimes it kind of depends upon who I'm speaking to.
Sometimes I try and adjust a little bit if I'm texting somebody of a different generation who seem to think that full stops are kind of rude to use.
Yes.
Because they're very final.
Yes.
It's like you don't want any more conversation if you leave a full stop or a period
Or-
at the
or
end of
it's-
what you're saying.
Or it's very formal, or it makes you look like you think you know everything.
Just good grammar.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
that's all it is.
So this continues for some time with Sam getting involved too until Roy decides he's had enough and he leaves his phone on the table while he goes for a lie down. He's already an expert on phones as far as Coronation Street's concerned by leaving his phone behind.
Yes.
And later, when it's all calmed down, Roy tells Asha that she has the perfect calming and empathetic temperament to be a paramedic. And Asha is fair made up by this.
Right, yes, because she has lots of empathy.
Yep.
Except for, girls who want to date her brother.
Sure. On Wednesday, Brian and Craig are at Nina's Rolls, curious to see how Roy is getting on with his phone. Roy says he's up to his tits in notifications. And later, when Carl and Pete are in, he explains that sending a request to Nina to pick up an aubergine from the cash and carry has gone awry when he used what he calls an emoji.
Yes.
Carla starts pissing herself when she realises what's happened.
Yes.
And explains to Roy that he can't be sending no eggplant emojis to his niece.
Right.
Roy
Yes.
still doesn't understand.
Right.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes. So, Coronation Street, keeping it classy, making a dick joke.
Dick jokes between
Dick
an
jokes.
uncle and his niece.
And his adopted daughter, sort of.
His
With
niece.
Carla.
His actual niece.
Right. His actual niece and his adoptive daughter try to explain it to him.
She has to whisper it in his ear.
Right,
She has
yes.
to be very careful that nobody can see her lips and nobody can hear her.
Right. Yes. Because you can't say the word dick on Coronation Street. Or penis.
Or penis. Or Willie.
These are...
Or Bobby. Or cock.
I wonder what word you can use for male genitalia on Coronation Street.
I'm sure Tim's used it before, hasn't he?
I'm sure Sally has used it before.
But not like that. No, pretty
Exactly
much
like
that. So that's it. That's Roy got a phone now, and we only had to go to the hospital once before it could happen. So I guess we should count ourselves lucky.
This is such a nothing story. Just to get a stupid phone.
Well, it's done two things, let's be fair.
And to make Asha a paramedic.
When do you think she'll pass her paramedic qualifications? I thought later that week, but it didn't happen.
Too soon. Whenever it is, it'll be too soon.
I think it should be quite good. I'm surprised that she doesn't have plans for a career, because she seemed to be that kind of girl before. She was...
Well, they all seemed to be that kind of girl before.
That's true. That is true.
And now all of a sudden, none of them are. Because even Amy seems to kind of... I mean, at least Amy is going to school. None of the other ones are. Why isn't Asha in school? I thought she was in school. In college. University.
I don't think she'd really decided on anything. So she's just working at Nina's Rolls. And
I didn't even think she was working at Nina's Rolls. I thought she was working at Dev's. But you don't really see her... What has she been doing? Nobody knows.
I mean, we focused on poor Simon, but really, what has Asha been doing? Remember, Simon lost a job that no one knew he had.
Right, yeah. She's been briefly snogging Nina every once in a while. Very quickly.
I think she'll be a good paramedic. I think it's important to have characters that are on the street with occupations that make them useful and still kind of keep them on the street. So she can go off doing paramedic stuff.
What, you mean like Craig?
I mean, exactly like Craig. And Aggie.
Yes, because Aggie's a nurse.
We had Rana, she was a nurse.
Yeah. And Dr. Gaddis occasionally. She's fairly consistent on being on the street.
Not really
Not a regular character.
not a regular character.
But at least when we see her, she's doing her job, unlike Billy, who we never see doing his job.
We track where Billy has been in a week.
Yes.
And it's between the pub and the bistro, back to the pub, wait at the bistro again,
His house.
occasionally in his house.
Yeah. Sometimes on the street.
Just,
Sometimes he's Billy on the street.
have we talked about how Emmerdale have done this with their vicar character?
And they do a very good job.
Well,
Where
I don't
he
know if they do a
actually-
very good job, but they
They
do a better job.
Yeah.
Where
They
he's-
actually know that religion exists.
where he's in charge of christenings and things and
Marries people.
occasionally weddings and stuff. Yeah,
Does sermons.
very occasionally mentions God.
Right.
Just
Occasionally.
crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff for a bishop to
Anyway,
do.
this has nothing to do with this storyline.
No. It will pop up later, though.
Let's move on to our next storyline this evening, which is Tim's mum about the house. So on New Year's Eve, 6 fellas, they come through for Stephen and pay him his 10 grand hush money. He hands over a list of suppliers to Sarah and Michael and gets all misty-eyed as he does so. This is him tying up all these loose ends.
Right.
And then later, Stephen overhears news from Jenny that Teddy's in a coma and he may never wake up. So Stephen takes this opportunity to tell a tale where, before he was knocked down, Teddy told Stephen that he'd found Leo, who wanted nothing to do with Teddy or Jenny. And later, while Stephen is playing off between Jenny and Tim's mum at the hospital, Teddy wakes up.
Yes, and he wakes up and becomes a cyborg.
I thought it was a White Walker.
No, because it's like the heart
pulse
rate
thing,
machine in his eyeballs.
Which means that it must have been on the ceiling.
Right, and there must be 2 of them.
Oh dear. We're pulling out the big guns for New Year.
Oh dear. I feel bad for mocking it because it's like, oh, let's do this cool visual effect where it reflects in his eyes and that adds drama to the fact that he's awake. Even though, isn't he in a medically induced coma to stop the swelling in his brain?
I have some memory that would suggest that.
Yeah. So
He had a brain injury, definitely.
So him coming out of that medically induced coma is probably not a good thing, one would think.
Or did they have a brain injury, or was that Spider? There's just so much going on this week for injuries, it's really hard to...
We have 4 people who get brain injuries this week. We've now talked about 2 out of the 4 that hit their head on something this week or have hit their head on something last week and are already in the hospital because of something happening to their head.
Stephen was waiting for his money to leave, to get the hell out of Dodge.
Just go.
And Teddy's return has made him want to stay rather than just getting as far away as possible.
Right, seriously. So that, he can't be extra... Well, he probably could be extradited.
Go to Spain. Spain don't extradite to the UK.
They don't?
Nope.
Yeah, but his ex-wife is there. Oh, no, wait, she's in Italy. I'm so confused.
It's the same thing. On Monday.
Oh, we're going to get lots of hate mail from Spain and Italy.
Good. Audrey's already back from her Norwegian cruise, which must have been in a speedboat. She was away for a week. She left on Boxing Day.
Yeah, so it's been a week. That sounds about right.
$3,000 that cost.
Well, that's actually cheap.
In the Rovers, Stephen's getting the drinks in and learns that Jenny's mind is on Teddy, who she plans to visit in hospital later. Stephen offers to go with, and Jenny doesn't feel this is weird because compared to Stephen's other involvement, this is just par for the course. It's good that I made a tune for this, right?
Yes.
So at the hospital, the 2 of them go to see Teddy and are surprised to see that he's woken up, although he's a bit confused and can't remember what's happened. Jenny tells Stephen to recount the story that he told her about going to Canada and meeting Leo, who wants nothing more to do with him or Jenny, and Teddy is surprised by this but seems to believe it. On Tuesday, Jenny and Stephen visit Teddy again and his memory is still foggy on everything that happened in Canada. And afterwards, Jenny tells him that he'll come back sooner or later, and Stephen clutches his collar a little bit. And then Stephen leaves, but Jenny stays on and she enjoys a bit of chit-chat with Teddy. Later in the pub, Stephen learns from Jenny that once Teddy has been discharged, he'll be staying in Ronnie's room now that Ronnie has moved in with Debbie. Is this wise? Asks Stephen. Why do you fucking care? Snaps Tim's mum.
Right, and also, why are you... What... Just stay out of it. Stop making yourself look so frickin' suspicious. And also, maybe let's stop talking to women like they're children. I know we're meant to hate this guy, but this really has to stop. He's so condescending. It makes me want to punch him in the face.
On Wednesday at the Rovers, just as Jenny's about to leave for the hospital, Stephen comes in to tell her again that he doesn't think it's a good idea that Teddy should stay there, and it's a terrible look to other people, and it might give Teddy the wrong idea. Jenny asks if she should just cut Teddy loose then. Yes, says Stephen. But Jenny ignores his advice and brings Teddy back to the Rovers.
Huzzah!
And through the back, the two of them, along with Gooseberry Stephen, attempt to get his memory back, thinking it's weird that he didn't take any photos of Leo in Canada if he really met him. Stephen ignores this and suggests once again that Teddy and Jenny should just let it go for now and give Sinkhole Leo some space. That's as far as I get with that this week. Does Teddy really not remember?
Well, this has happened before with head injuries, let's remember, where people don't remember the trauma that they had or the things that happened right before it. This is what happened to Nina the last time she got a head injury.
It has happened before, but I've got, or at least I had a feeling that Teddy really did know what had happened and was just keeping his mouth shut to see what Stephen was going to say. But if that's the case, I'm not sure why he hasn't said something to Jenny by now.
Well, remember, he was suspicious of Jenny as well.
Oh, that's true.
But in addition to pictures, let's remember, Teddy was in contact with the police because Leo is a missing person now because he found out that he never made it to Canada.
Yeah.
And they triangulated the whole thing. So he should have messages on his phone to that effect.
Now, stop bamboozling us with science here, Helen. They triangulated the whole thing?
They triangulated the beam from the...
The beam.
Yes, the ping.
The laser beam?
The ping from Leo's cell phone.
They could tell that his phone was used on the street.
Right.
And I think specifically the Rovers.
Right,
I think they could
right
be
in
that
front
accurate.
of the Rovers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So the police know this.
It's
Even
like an
if-
episode of Serial.
Even if Teddy doesn't know it. Right.
Right.
So in 20 years' time, who gets out of jail?
Oh God, what was
It's
that
the
guy's
family.
name?
It's the family that I feel sorry for. Adnan.
Ah, yes. Yes. So, first of all, this man was run over by a car.
Traveling at high speed. There was a little thing clipped on Twitter that had the scene from Mean Girls where Regina George is run over.
Uh-huh.
And it's at the same speed that the bus hit her.
Uh-huh.
It's the speed that the car hit Sinkhole Leo's dad.
Right.
Fairly fast.
Yes. I'm surprised nobody has morphed this into that scene from that movie with Brad Pitt where he gets...
We talked about this last week.
Did we?
Yeah.
Meet Joe Black.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this man was hit by a car last week.
At high speed.
At high speed.
By Kathy.
He was in a coma for what? 3 days? 4 days?
Yeah, a day.
He was hit by a car.
A day or two, maybe.
He was hit by a car. Like a big car, too. It was like an SUV or a van or something.
I think it was a van. I think it was a little van.
Yeah. He was hit by something heavy at high speed.
We're moving quickly.
Yes. No broken bones.
No.
Is walking into is leaning on Jenny. Walking into the Rovers. Able to use both hands and both arms. Speaking in coherent sentences.
Well.
Ish.
It's lost his memory.
He's lost his memory. At least maybe they got that right.
It reminded me of that time that Adam fell from the mezzanine level of a mall.
And didn't break any bones.
Landed on his head, though. He was in a medically induced coma as well. I think,
for like 2 days.
I think where the generals, I think the top of their list of things to do is put people in medically induced comas, no matter what they're in for.
Do they secretly have like...
They're paid by the coma.
Is it secretly Doctor Who comes in? I know his name's not really Doctor Who. It's the Doctor. Their name, not his name. And
You're just talking yourself in circles here.
Do they have a time-traveling doctor who comes from the future with special medicine to like miraculously heal people at Weather General? Is this happening? What is going on? Are they secretly replacing the actual... Are the actual people actually dying and being secretly replaced by automatons?
Oh, well.
And that's why Roy thinks everyone with a phone is an automaton?
By,
What is going on here?
by people that are unnaturally attracted to water.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Nina isn't maybe Nina really died when she got her head kicked in, and it's an automaton now, and that's why it didn't know what to do with water.
What is this thing called love? Kiss me.
What's going on?
Anyway, I think
It gets worse, but it's funny.
I think Teddy might remember more than he's letting on.
I think there might be an inkling there, and I think he's slowly getting some of his memories back, but he's keeping them close to his chest.
Yep.
So he can see if he can find
Yes, that's
out
exactly
more
what I think.
information, and that's why he agreed to walk into Jenny's.
Mm-hmm.
Walk! After being hit by a car last week.
And I still don't know why Stephen's in the country. It's
Just leave! Just go!
run away.
Run away.
How much did they get? You got 10 grand.
Right, which
Okay,
is...
that's not going to start much of a life, but
No, but it's enough for a ticket. Didn't he book a ticket? I saw him looking at seats.
oh yeah, he was.
He was looking at seats. He was booking a ticket.
He was.
And then he just decided to stay because Teddy came out of his coma. Mm-hmm. Teddy's come out of his coma and he doesn't remember anything. Run away. Go.
He's staying on to make sure that Teddy doesn't tell Jenny.
He doesn't remember anything. How's he going to tell Jenny? Is he just going to stay indefinitely until Teddy dies?
Or is he going to kill Teddy? Remember, he was going to do it in the hospital the other week.
Why do the writers of Coronation Street hate people named Ted? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I'm still kind of enjoying this.
They would have hated our dog. Our poor wee Teddy.
Yeah, I
Rest
kind
in
of hated
peace.
our dog.
Coronation Street killed our dog.
On New Year. Yeah, I'm still kind of enjoying it. I kind of want to see how far it's going to go now. And none of this is making any sense.
It's
the
so
fact
dumb.
that everyone is just not questioning why Stephen just appears in the back room at the Rovers when he has no business being there.
And
it's like the world is his knicker factory.
And every time somebody does question, he immediately has an answer that they don't question anymore. And the whole, the fact that Five Guys Burgers and Fries actually do give him money for their moped.
6 fellas. We'll have 5 guys on the phone again.
I'm going to keep doing it until they give us free burgers.
Free grease burgers all round.
All around.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline, which is Dog Days of Summer. On Saturday, on New Year's Eve, the young crew convinced a morose Summer, morose even though she's sporting a snazzy new pair of dungarees, to a party at the flat. She said that she's not been in much of a party mood recently. And they're like, no kidding, sister. At the party, Aaron is there because he lives there.
Right.
And she sees him snogging another girl.
No, but he's not... That whole thing was so dumb, too, because he's obviously looking at Summer. This drunk girl thinks he's looking at her. She comes over and says, "Are you going to kiss me? You've been staring at me all night. Are you going to kiss me?" And then mashes his head into her face. And he doesn't say anything.
You can't.
No, but he could have said something before saying, "Sorry, no, I was looking at the girl over your shoulder, my girlfriend." But he doesn't. For some reason, Aaron has a hard time talking to girls.
He was a little drunk. He had one eye on BBC One and another eye on Channel 4, I think. That was what was happening. So, the snogging's going on. Upset, Summer runs out. He chases after her and announces that even though they keep breaking up and stuff, and even though she wants to have another man's baby, he kind of wants to get back together with her. So they snog. On Monday, back at home now, Billy is pleased that Summer is back with Aaron and suggests going to the movies together, but Summer already has plans at Esther and Mike's, and Billy is kind of taken aback by this because he thinks that just because Summer is back with Aaron, that the whole surrogacy thing is off.
Right.
And he's very shocked to discover that Aaron is supporting her in this endeavour. So she goes to Esther and Mike's, and for some reason she's there on her own. And then
Yeah, why is she there on her... She doesn't live there anymore.
No.
Why is she
She moved
there on
back
her
home.
own? Why?
And then the bailiffs turn up to repo all of Esther and Mike's shit. Panicking, she calls on them to hurry back, but by the time they get there, the bailiffs have gone. Summer demands to know what the actual fuck is going on. This is her red line. I will put up with a lot of shit from you two, but you need to tell me...
Why the telly's gone.
Right.
If you don't have a television, I'm not having your baby.
Meanwhile, Billy has convened the exes to discuss what to do as a group, and the best they can come up with is to continue with Billy's plan to pretend to be on board while secretly trying to scupper the surrogacy thing. Back at Mike's, he explains the financial hole
Mike
he's in.
and Esther's. Esther lives there too.
Yes. But if I say back at Mike's, I can just say he explains the financial hole. If I say Mike and Esther, well, I can maybe still say that.
Yes.
He explains the financial hole that he's in and how they remortgaged the house, but interest rates have killed him. I can't have helped, says Summer. No, you made matters much worse, says Mike. And he goes off to get pished. Don't wait up, he says. So
If things were that bad, why are you offering to buy someone's baby? Why would you do that?
They were throwing her money
Money
in
left and right and center.
in multiples of 10 grand. Summer gets home, but doesn't share the events of the day with Billy, who is feeling virtuous because he's not eaten animals in January. Billy offers to go with Summer to her surrogacy consultant thing tomorrow. He admits that this isn't the future that he saw for her, but promises to support her. Meanwhile, Mike's found himself at the Bistro, where he's trying like a bear to get into Leanne's knickers. She tells him, in no uncertain terms, to go fuck himself. Later,
That was really weird and awkward, wasn't it?
Later, Paul and Todd arrive at the flat to share how much they're also supporting Summer, and it isn't suspicious at all. On Tuesday, at the surrogacy consultancy thing, Esther is spraying Mike with perfume because he stinks of booze. That was quite funny.
It was funny.
Then Summer and Billy arrive, and Mike is kind of knocked off kilter at the sight of him being there. And the mediator person questions Esther about her background in trying for a baby, and then she turns her attention to Summer and her relationship with Aaron. Summer says they met because they have diabetes, but she's totally got it under control. And Billy jumps at the chance to kind of put the story straight on that. Say, well, you struggled with it for a bit.
Yeah.
You've got an eating disorder, you ran away from home, and you've quit uni and also lost your job. Biscuit anyone?
Right. And also, the consultant, when she says diabetes, she's like, there are greater risks to you because you're diabetic having a baby. And it's like, no, it's fine. It's not fine. Even if you have your diabetes under control, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
This, to me, was the best Billy we've seen for ages.
Absolutely.
I loved this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dropping some truth bombs, finally. Of how fucking ridiculous this all is.
Parent of the week.
Parent of the week.
Parent of the week.
Boring parent of the week. Back home, Summer
No,
is...
it's going to be horrible parent of the week.
Back home, Summer is furious, but Billy says he was only telling the truth. Summer explains that she doesn't want to do this either, but she owes Mike and Esther, and this is how she repays them.
Don't!
This is pretty fucked up right here, says Billy. And when she accuses him of not supporting her, he's like, this is support.
Right. Support is not telling you everything you want to hear.
Precisely.
And, that's what being an adult is, babes. This is, you want me to treat you like an adult. I'm going to treat you like an adult. This is how you treat someone like an adult. And why he doesn't say to her, it's really fucked up that you think you owe those people anything when they were going to illegally buy your baby.
Right.
Is just, what is wrong with her mind that she thinks she owes these people a baby? That's so twisted.
And I think this should be Billy's focus. This should be what Billy is aiming to do over the next few episodes, is reprogram Summer and is realising that she doesn't owe them a single thing. She was going to give them a baby, I guess, in good faith from her point of view. The fact that she lost the baby is nature.
Right.
Just because she lost that one doesn't mean to say that she owes them anything else.
Right.
And she's kind of forgetting that she's, 18 years old?
Right. And also, you just lost one. Maybe give your body a break before you get it pregnant again. When obviously, right now, your body's like, no, thank you.
Billy should be, right, now I know what her mindset is.
Right.
Because for the longest time, I couldn't understand
Why she
she's
wants
wanting
to
to
do
do
this.
this. But now I do know this.
Uh-huh.
So what I need to do is course correct this. Get her away from this way of thinking, back
Right.
in line.
Yeah.
But no, instead of doing that, he goes to the pub and spends more time in the pub, thinking that there's no stopping Summer from doing what she wants to do. Todd thinks that they need to work on Esther and Mike then if they can't work on Summer. Billy points out that Mike was reeking of booze and cheap hair perfume at the consultant thing. Todd thinks that Mike and Esther sound like a weird couple of creepy Christians, and he and Paul agree to find out more. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Billy absolutely slayed when he walked into that consultancy and said, "Ooh, something smells good in here."
Ooh. He was brilliant in that scene.
He was.
That was top-notch Billy. And as
Top
you say,
burn.
parent of the week.
Parent of the week. Do you think Esther and Mike are human traffickers?
No. Do you?
Yes. I think they're secretly trying to kidnap Summer. I think that's why they're focused on Summer so much. I think they want to kidnap her and sell her into human trafficking.
Just to get their TV back?
Because remember, they've been so
Dancing on Ice is about to start right enough.
they're so focused on her. And then there was the Ukrainian nanny who had to go bye-bye.
Estonian.
Estonian. Oh, and not a nanny because they have no kids.
Yikes.
And the fact, so an Estonian maid, and the fact that Mike acts very unmarried, and they don't really seem like they're married an awful lot, do they? They kind of don't act like real married people.
Oh, she was nagging him in private a little bit.
Right. But like their actions are very strange, and the fact that they were going to put Mike's name on the birth certificate and everything.
Oh, there's huge numbers of red flags here.
Right. Yeah.
I'm confused by the bailiff thing.
Well, because he owed all that money
I don't know what that's adding to this story.
to make us suspicious of them, but we were already suspicious
Yeah,
of
they're
them.
already
Maybe to
very
make
suspicious.
Summer suspicious of them, but she doesn't seem to be suspicious of them. In fact, if anything, it makes her feel more obligated to them because she feels responsible for them getting into debt.
Right.
When these are adults who made decisions, Summer, it's not your fault that these adults made decisions.
No, I don't know what their deal is. I'll tell you something. I don't
Human
think
traffickers.
they're Christians.
Yeah, that really seems like an act.
And the way that he spoke to Billy before, when Billy called him over and told him to stay away, and they basically told Billy to go fuck himself. They seem to have been able to bury their whole shame on that thing quite well, because when they're confronted by him again, he looks a bit uncomfortable. She doesn't seem to care.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their deal is with that, but I presume there's something going to come out with the Leanne thing.
Yes, absolutely. Like they're going to go to the bistro to celebrate something with Billy and Summer, and Leanne's going to say, "Oi, you."
Yeah, I was expecting either Todd or Paul to be hanging about in the background to see what was going on, because Mike doesn't know who Todd and Paul are. I don't think, does he?
I don't
think so.
I was going to say Todd went with Billy to the house, but no, that was Aaron's drunk dad,
Yes.
who seems to have disappeared.
He's turned into a bottle of Johnny Walker again and just disappeared. Yeah.
I'm so tired.
I'm very tired of this. Anyway, moving on. Very quickly, our next story is Peter's Swap Shop. This is something that I'm actually very interested in.
Right, yeah.
And I've only got a small bit of it.
Right, yeah. It's the anorak all over again.
On New Year's Eve, Peter has been grumpy about going out in New Year, calling it a capitalist endeavour. He tells Carla that he's been reading about an alternative system. It's called communism. No, it's called bartering. Carla tells him that if he can barter up an onion badgie to a motorbike, she'll buy him the leathers herself. And later, at the pub, Brian is complaining about the lack of snacks, so Peter trades him the onion badgie for a pen. And so it begins.
And so it begins.
And I'm at this point thinking, okay, I'm interested. Because this is something I've kind of thought of before. We've seen some social media stuff and some stuff in the mainstream press as well about people who have done things like this before. They've taken a paperclip and they've managed to eventually trade it into things like a house.
Right.
That after a long period of time and many, many hundreds of trades, it's possible to do something like this.
Yes. Stelly has attempted this, but we put a stop to it because she was speaking to strangers in cars.
Right.
And we don't want our 13-year-old daughter talking to strangers in cars.
Yeah, I'm going to now just start talking about Wednesday's episode.
Yes.
And maybe cut that out. On Wednesday, Peter's bartering skills know no bounds as his pen has been swapped out for a box cheese grater. And I'm just a little bit disappointed that we didn't see what happened to make that trade.
Right. Because it's such a random thing.
Carla isn't impressed as a pen can write, she says. Aha, says Peter. But can a pen grate cheese? You're a fucking moron, says Carla. And then later in Nina's roles, Peter tries to swap the cheese grater for an electric toaster with Roy. And without asking why, Roy offers a sieve instead.
Yeah.
Peter refuses, and the deal is dead. And that's as far as we get with that. I really hope that this is a storyline that is going to run for a little bit. Because this is fun and it's interesting.
That's why they're going to kill it, just like the anorak.
And it's a kind of thought experiment type thing as well about it that I really enjoy.
Yeah. That's why it's not going to happen. They kill anything fun.
Oh, well, I was kind of looking forward to that.
Maybe this is how we find the anorak.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting, which is why it's not going to happen.
Is there anything else about that? I mean, I guess it's just nice to see Peter and Carla together every now and again.
Right, being cute. Mm-hmm. That's what we need them to do. And we need them to occasionally be together and be absolutely sickeningly adorable together. Just keep that up, please.
All right, this next story I thought was going to become a longer story this week, but then nothing happened. So I have 2 lines to say about this.
Okay.
And this is the Laurence Situation. On New Year's Eve at the pub, Todd tries again to apologise for the Laurence Situation to Sean, and Sean reluctantly, with some intervention from Glenda, who has a cruise ship story, would you believe? Sean finally accepts the apology.
Yes, and they toast with champagne flutes.
And then it disappears for a week.
And Todd says to Glenda, "Oh, you were on a cruise ship. You never mentioned."
You never mentioned it. It never comes up.
It's so funny that somebody finally said that to her.
Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of one of the cornerstones of long-running comedy, is that you have a character who keeps on referring to the same thing
over and over again,
kind of things over and over and over again, like Woody in Cheers talking about Hanover, Indiana,
or Sophia in Golden Girls saying, "Picture it, Sicily, 1912."
And that's kind of like Mary as well with her mother stories,
right? And her dangerous liaison stories,
right?
Which are my favorite.
So that's the Laurence thing. Nothing more happening there.
No.
Moving on to Marry Me Chauncey. on Monday, Gemma wants to get married. She's sick of seeing all these couples get hitched or engaged, like Daniel and Daisy, who've only been together for 5 minutes, which is what you said, and that woman that Glenda bumped into on the tram. Bernie thinks marriage is a misogynistic construct, but tells Gemma that Chesney is never going to take the front foot on this. Gemma's going to need to do it herself, and then he'll jump on the board once stuff's in motion.
Because he's tight.
Yep. So Gemma drags Chesney away from his half pint, fucking Chesney, to the Bistro, which Gemma has earmarked as a potential venue. Chesney asks Gemma if she really wants to get married to him. She says she does, because everyone else is doing it, which is the best reason to get married.
Absolutely.
After meeting with Leanne to discuss options, Chesney just doesn't think they can afford it right now, just like 12 months ago when they couldn't afford Joseph a pair of decent shoes or a sweater or whatever it was, and Gemma is absolutely scunnered by this.
Right, yeah. I guess we should be grateful that it has been so long since we've had a Gemma and Chesney poverty porn story.
It isn't that long at all. The whole thing with Bernie and Bob from Blackadder was rooted in that storyline as well. That's why she was wanting the money.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks in between, though.
Well, a couple of weeks. On Tuesday,
Take it.
Chesney's looking for some Billy Bear cold meat for his sandwich, and a still furious Gemma tells him that he should be eating at work if he's worried about the money. As they argue about the wedding, Chesney decides that he'd rather spend money on a bigger house or a better car rather than a piece of paper. And surprisingly, this does not calm Gemma.
No.
The argument
She's right, though. Why wouldn't you want to eat kebab for lunch every day?
every day.
It's kebab.
You'd be dead in a fortnight.
Not necessarily.
The argument continues at the kebab shop when Gemma discovers that Chesney wasted good wedding money on an egg sandwich from Roy. Chesney says that he can't eat a kebab every day. Dev privately tells Chesney that he spent so much time being a dad, he's forgotten how to be a man. And this gives Chesney food for thought somehow.
And he's like, you're right. I need to find a brick somewhere.
Right. Get me a brick. I've got a face I need to smash it in with.
That.
So he goes home with a sauce jug that he says he's going to use as a collection pot for the wedding. But Gemma's angry about something else now, as Joseph's been sent home from school for signing, and she's about to fucking kill somebody.
As she should, because this is discrimination against the disabled.
Yeah.
This is absolute. It's like, how did anybody get away with this? This is just
And I'm thinking,
despicable.
finally, this is a Gemma story where we are 100% on board with Gemma
Have you noticed?
until we meet the teacher.
Have you noticed with the quads this week when the quads were all in the room together? There were 3 of them there, and then occasionally there'd be a shot of Alad with his
Cochlear implant.
cochlear implants, and there'd be a shot of the other 3, and then occasionally a shot of Alad. But and every shot of Alad was him by himself, like
I didn't
he
notice
wasn't
that.
even in the room. Like they shot him separately in another room
Maybe they're limited to how many
kids they
children
can have
under
in
a
a
certain
room
age. Yeah, maybe.
because of
Supervision or something?
or COVID
Maybe. More likely supervision,
or
though.
RSV and stuff, because they've had birthday parties on the street where there are like 20 kids running around.
Not recently.
Not recently, but it happens, so it can't possibly just be supervision.
I don't know.
It was very strange watching.
On Wednesday at the Quad House, Bernie and Gemma are making plans for speaking with Joseph's teacher, Bernie remembering the teacher as a cow when Paul and Gemma were at school. We all know a teacher like that, right?
Yes, we do. Remember?
No, let's not say anything that's going to get us
Goes to
sued.
our church.
So they meet up with her in the corridor and plead Joseph's case, saying, look, he wasn't swearing, he was just doing sign language for offside, I think it was,
Right?
wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's not even real. It's just and he wasn't. It wasn't to the teacher. She's like, he can't be swearing to teachers. It's like, it wasn't even to you. It was to one of his friends.
But the teacher, Mrs. York, doesn't give a shit, says Joseph was at it, and it's no surprise because Paul and Gemma were scumbags back in the day too, and she ignores Gemma's suggestion of starting up a BSL group at the school that she'll be happy to help out with.
Right,
To
yeah.
raise awareness and stuff.
Gemma's being very reasonable here.
Civically minded.
Right. And explaining that he has a deaf brother
Who's going to be going to that
who's
school
going to be going to this school.
sooner or later, right?
Right.
Fingers
And-
crossed.
And what's going to happen when he comes to the school. And she readily points out, you have kids speaking in other languages. This is just another language.
Gemma and Bernie sit in Mrs. York's empty class discussing what to do. And Bernie
Or is
decides
it?
that peaceful protest is the way to go. And so they start barricading themselves in. And then discover that Michael's sitting there, kind of surprised to see him. He's waiting to discuss Glory's admission with Mrs. York. Tough shit, says Bernie.
How has he been silent this whole time?
Right.
It was so funny when it panned to him. It was like a Looney Tunes cartoon or
Right.
something.
Look, what's he doing there?
And he's just sitting there, not saying anything until they're barricaded in.
Right. So Mrs. York comes back, can't get into the classroom, and from the corridor she demands that they open the door. So Gemma starts FaceTiming it to the internet. When Michael
Live streaming.
when he learns the cause of the protest, he decides to join in. He's given his back into the endeavour.
Instead of jumping out the window.
Mrs. York is unimpressed and threatens to call the police. Gemma thinks getting arrested would draw more attention to the cause, and she's all for it. Chesney is trying to have a quiet lunch at Nina's Rolls, not eating a kebab like he was told to, when Dev
Or an egg salad sandwich.
bursts in to show him what's going on at the school. Oh, pig's tits, he says. So the two of them, Dev and Chesney, they hightail it to the school. Chesney explaining to Mrs. York that the protest is being live streamed to 3,000 people right now.
Yes.
And the headmaster could be one of them. Mrs. York has had enough. She locks the door, tells Jim and Bernie that they can stay there all night. This shit is outside her pay grade, and I loved that.
But also, that makes her look even worse.
Yeah, but who cares?
She doesn't seem to care or understand.
Not one shit was given.
What a horrible person this is.
I quite like her. She's not putting up with any of their drama. Fuck them. Fuck them all.
Right.
You're locked in the room.
I'm not taking any of your drama, mother of a disabled child
Right.
that I've discriminated against.
Right. I don't know, it made me laugh. And they're like, well, what if we need to go to the bathroom? So that's what happens. They're locked in the room and they can't get out, and everyone else goes home.
And they find some race cars.
And Michael raises his spirits when he suggests a friendly game of Skeletrix. And that's as far as we get with that this week. So,
And Chesney tells Gemma he's proud of her.
yes.
As does Dev.
Yep.
Because let's remember, Dev and Bernie are a thing.
Oh, of course. Right, that's why he's there.
That's why he's there.
Right. Not just for moral support for Chauncey.
No, moral support for his lady friend.
Right. Yeah. You know, as an awful lot of this is going on, there was some far more serious stuff going on
Yeah.
alongside it, which was a strange juxtaposition
Right.
at times. That's like, oh, we're getting more of the classroom thing. But the fact that they've been locked in, I think, is kind of up to stakes a little bit.
And also, this is important.
Yes.
You know, it's not just a funny story. This is something, you know, that disabled people do come up against even now. There's a lot of issues with the disabled community about people treating them differently or unfairly and illegally. But it's on the disabled people to fight against it and get their rights, even though the other person is being illegal. Because this is very illegal what this teacher is doing.
Mrs. York losing her job over this, do you think?
Probably. Good.
Any mitigating circumstances for her with Gemma and Bernie barricading themselves into her classroom?
No.
Probably not. It's kind of false imprisonment, no matter how you look at it, isn't
Right.
it?
It's false imprisonment
Of 3 people.
of 3 people. And also she discriminated against a disabled person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and saying you can't sign language. I don't understand how Joseph was punished. When he went, because wouldn't he have had to have gone to like the headmaster's office?
No, they sent him home.
So the teacher can just send him home without any authorization by the principal or anything? It's just on the teacher?
I don't know. It's been some time since I've been a schoolboy in England. Oh, wait a minute. I've never been a schoolboy in England.
No, it doesn't make any sort of sense. You know, that a teacher would be allowed to just do that without
In my day-
paperwork and authority.
In my day, you'd be sent to the headmaster's
Right.
office. You'd get the belt, and then you'd get sent back again.
Right. Or, well, I mean, I wouldn't get the belt, but you'd be sent to the headmaster, to the principal's office. In high school, it was the headmaster, but you would get sent to the head authority. Paperwork would have to be signed. Your parents would have to come into the school. Because it seems like Joseph was just sent home without a parent being called initially. Because you'd think if a parent was called, the parent could say, he's got a deaf brother. You can't discriminate against us. What he's doing is not against the rules. Go fuck yourself.
I think an awful lot of this is historic based on Gemma and Paul's experience. And that used to happen a lot at school. If your big brother or your big sister was a bit of a wrong un, then it didn't matter how good you were. some teachers would treat you like shit anyway.
Yep.
Oh well.
Oh, well.
No, this was a good storyline. Like you said, it had some real world heft to it and importance to it, but it was also kind of light-hearted as well. And the little Skeletrix thing at the end.
Yes,
and really
that
the
was
whole
great.
lot of Michael's involvement was
Right,
pretty
Michael
funny.
just being
Right.
Poor Michael.
All right, our penultimate storyline tonight is Enter the Damon. On Wednesday, Damon meets
Oh,
up
I forgot about all of this.
with Jacob on the street and
This is so dumb.
immediately tells him he should quit one of his jobs and reckons he should quit the knicker factory as he needs a man on the inside of his bistro and he'll earn more money there anyway. After a fashion,
Lies.
Jacob promises to think about it, leaving Damon to immediately jump on the phone to a mysterious third party to say that he's working on it and is going to give him to the end of the day. So Jacob goes to Carla and hands in his notice, and Carla is devastated. And when Jacob tells her it's because he wants to work with his dad, she tells him that she wouldn't trust Damon as far as she could fling him, and tells him that he's burning his bridges with her now after all that she did. She was the one who believed in him and gave him a chance.
Right.
And this is how he's choosing to repair. And like we said last week, he's her star performer as well. At the bistro, Jacob tells Damon the good news, and Damon immediately demands Nick takes Jacob on full time and doubles his pay, and threatens to grass him up to Leanne if he doesn't, so Nick has to agree.
Right, yeah, but Leanne's gonna see how much they're paying.
Yeah. With Jacob working, it's almost like Nick shouldn't have accepted Harvey's money, isn't it?
It's almost like that. It's almost like that. Or should have been honest with Leanne that he took Harvey's money.
Right. With Jacob working behind the bar, Damon tells him to keep a lookout for a package later and to keep it secret. Jacob is worried that it's drugs. As if it's drugs, says Damon. But Jacob now looks like he's regretting his decision already. And that's as far as we get with that.
It's totally drugs.
Of course it is.
And also, remember when Damon first showed up on the street? And he was like, I don't want anything to do with you. You're a bad dad.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
And we were quite happy actually with Damon because he seemed to be a little bit different from Harvey and all those, and he's just turned out to be the same.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a disappointment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Why all of a sudden is he like yesing his dad like this? What's
as
happened?
he says to Carla that he's basically given him another shot, another chance at
right.
a relationship.
Yeah, thanks to Amy. Fucking Amy. Keep your nose out of people's lives, Amy.
God damn it.
God damn it, Amy. Deal with your own parental problems.
Seriously.
Your mother's killed someone.
And will kill again.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like the same shit, different day. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm trying to take a pragmatic approach to this, thinking that Jacob turning face, as he has done, had to have some kind of temptation or some kind of a draw from his previous life into his current life that he had to overcome. It had to happen at some point.
But the fact that it's happened so easily and so quickly.
So I'm just hoping that
I'm
we
just
can...
so bummed up because I love that kid.
Oh, so do I. And that's why I want this to be dealt with quickly and we can get over it. And Jacob can just go back to being a kind of happy-go-lucky, kind of cheeky-chappy
right.
for the next little while.
And adorable with Amy.
Right.
Yes.
Our final storyline tonight is Mad Max Racist Road. On Monday, Lily is in Nina's rolls watching Max's racist videos. Homeless Stu and Eliza are also there, and Eliza goes over to make friends with Lily and asks her what she's watching. So Lily is only too happy to share. And back home, Eliza is giggling at Max's racist videos now, and when Homeless Stu sees what she's watching, it's a video where CGI cockroaches are pouring out of Max's mouth.
And hair and clothes.
Homeless Stu is secretly furious, which Eliza thinks this is hilarious.
Right, yeah.
I'm worried about Eliza here.
Well, little kids, a guy screaming because he's got bugs all over him. She's not getting the hidden message there because she's just a little kid.
I'd have been appalled by that at her age.
I would have been grossed out.
I would have had nightmares about that. Meanwhile, at number 8, David has some incredible news for Lily. It's almost like you can't believe this news. It's so incredible. James has seen a video of her playing football And now a women's team in that London want to give her a trial for a 6-week London for a 6-week course, which starts in 2 days.
What?
Then homeless Stu arrives to piss on everyone's chips by telling David and Shona that Lily's racist now. Later, David and Shona debate what to do about racist Lily. Shona's blaming herself for letting Lily loose on her tablet with her earbuds and no supervision. And so she explains to Lily that the videos are nasty for hating people who don't deserve any hatred, and even though she thinks it's funny, it proves that Max is sick in the head. Lily is more interested in whether she gets to go on her football thing, so Shona decides to take her to that London for 6 weeks, leaving David to deal with Max while she's away.
And having that secret baby.
Yes, Shona can see about having that secret baby that she's been carrying now. Belter, says Lily.
I thought Shona was very... Shona is also parent of the week.
Parent of the week.
Because this whole thing with Lily, how she kind of explains it, and she explains about... And she likens it to something that has happened to Lily in her own life, where she says, you know, how some people don't think that girls should play football. Right. And people, you know, and guys will say you shouldn't be playing football and stuff. And Lily says, yeah, I hate that. I hate those guys. And she says, yeah, there are girls in other countries that want to play football and they can't because it's illegal for girls to play football or for girls to be out and girls to go to school. And so they come to this country, they go to other countries so that they can be safe to play football. And that makes sense to Lily. Mm-hmm. She breaks it down in a way that it makes sense to Lily, and Lily understands. And she was brilliant with it, and she was patient with Lily, and it was so great. And David's just like sitting there in the corner listening to all of this and thinks Shona's so great for all of this. Does not absorb the lesson that Shona is giving him, as we will see later.
It's almost like if Shona had this talk with Max a few weeks ago, we could have been saved an awful lot of bother.
Yeah, Max wouldn't have listened, though. Because Max has never been in a situation where somebody says you can't do that because you're a boy.
I don't know, but do you think... I think Shona just knew a way to get through to Lily. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think that maybe Shona would have had a way to get through to Max as well. This calm approach, mm-hmm. with rather than shouting "Thou shalt not,"
mm-hmm. yeah,
is probably preferable.
Absolutely.
On Tuesday, it's Spider's birthday, and Toyah's got him a spider. If only his name was Crash Helmet. He gets a call from Griff and delays him, saying that he's at the dentist, but unknown to Spider, Griff is actually standing outside the flat. He tells Spider that they have a big day ahead of them. Meanwhile, Maria, Gary, Alya, Darian, Peter and Liam are meeting at the Christmas market, talking about rebranding the market as a peace market. Griff and Max pass by to mock the event, and Gary's pleased that Maria's efforts seem to be antagonising the racists. On the phone to Peagate Len later about the plans, Griff refuses to tell Spider who he was talking to, and then Spider notices that there's a big box in the living room that Griff warns him not to touch, saying it's a present for Maria.
That's not obvious at all.
No. This big ticking box that's on the table. It's a present
for the person I hate.
Everyone is aware of the plan except for Spider. So when they're all due to leave, Spider says it needs a quick shite, and he uses this time to phone his handler. It's on, motherfuckers, he tells them. Weatherfield Town Hall. So when Griff comes back to check on him, Spider suggests that Max stays behind to hold the fort. And Griff thinks this is a great idea and tells Spider to stay back too. And then, in a comedy stage whisper, Griff tells Max to keep an eye on Spider and let me know if Spider even touches his phone. With the racist gone, Spider is totally shitting himself and tells Max that he needs to go take care of something. And so he hightails it back to Toyah to tell her that it's all going down today and Griff's about to get nicked. Toyah is thrilled, as this means that they can be a proper couple again once this is all done. But Spider says that he'll need to lie low after the trial, or until the trial, mm-hmm. and he's still going to be a copper, which I think Toyah's a bit surprised at.
Right. Yeah. What? You're not going to give up your job?
For me?
Why would he give up his job, Toyah? Why did you expect him to give up his profession, mm-hmm. something he's been trained in?
Yeah. While we're talking about jobs, Toyah, what are you doing? Meanwhile, at the town hall, armed police pounce on Griff's car, search the boot looking for a bomb, but all they find is a box of biscuits that racist Reese says that they're taking to the food bank. Also, there's no sign of Griff. And that's because Griff's back on the street following a tip from Max, waiting at Toya's flat, knowing that Spider is in there. In the flat, like we said, Toya seemed to be under the impression that Spider was going to give up being a shitty undercover cop. And as they argue about this, he gets an urgent text from Max. So he heads to the alleyway of doom, and instead of meeting Max, he meets Griff, who has worked out that the obvious undercover copper is an undercover copper.
Right. And he's like, I figured it out. I figured out that you weren't at the dentist earlier because an ambulance went by.
As a reversing van, he heard it beep.
Right. And I heard it was beeping on the street, and it was beeping on the phone. I could hear it there. Didn't Spider hear that too?
Yes.
And didn't think it was suspicious?
Also, it's a bit of a leap. Just because he's saying that he's at the dentist, it's kind of, I just don't want to talk to you right now.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm an undercover copper.
Right, yeah. And he says, look, we decided to get back together, but I didn't want to let anybody know.
Yeah, that was the most convincing Spider's been in any of this.
Right.
So Spider makes a run for it, but he bumps into racist Dave on the other side of the alleyway.
Oh, is that guy's name?
Yes.
I can never remember.
As Griff gives Spider a boop on the head with a crowbar. And
for some reason, Spider's head goes that way.
And Spider goes down like a sack of tatties.
This is our 4th head wound of the week. Head wound of the week.
Boring head wound of the week.
That would be Nina's.
Was that the boring one? The Spiders was necklace of the week as well, but it's good that we find this funny. So anyway, they're about to finish him off.
But not like that.
Thank you. When Peter comes along and chases the racists away and then calls an ambulance.
Right. Chases them away instead of holding them there, which Peter could do, because Peter's strong for a guy with one kidney or one liver or half a liver.
Any advances? Do I hear quarter of a liver? Liver of the week.
We're going to hell.
Poor Ruby. Back at Racism HQ, Griff bounds in, telling everyone it's time to split to Splitsville because I guess the cops who were looking for Griff earlier never thought to check his house. Racist Kelly is sent home where the racists all sigh at the thought of more fucking camping.
Because they're not just racist, they're misogynists, and girls can't go camping with the rest of the terrorists.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So at the hospital, Toya arrives to see Peter and explain about Spider being undercover, which no one can believe.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Toya thinks it's okay to tell everybody on the street that Spider's an undercover cop. He can never be an undercover cop again.
He's in the special undercover cop ward at Weatherfield General Hospital. Toya is eventually met by a surgeon who explains that Spider is in pretty bad shape from being twatted on the head and is currently in brain surgery. Meanwhile, the racists have all reconvened in the park. Max can't sleep and is worried about the arrival of a stolen speed dial van and Dave loading it with boxes. Griff says tomorrow they'll all be heroes, and Griff says that his plan is to just walk into the police station.
Right, and be hailed a hero by the police for bombing a restaurant? That's...
Well...
Again.
You know what they say about coppers.
Again. Well. Which one? Which one of the things?
Just one bad apple.
Coppers? But it's like this. One of my main problems with this story, which has been a problem with the story from day one for me, is that Griff's ideology is confusing.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to do is confusing. It's like he thinks if he bombs this place and kills some brown people, that the rest of the white people who've been telling him he's bad and racist will suddenly realize he's not bad and racist for killing brown people? What's going on in his head?
Griff's motivation here is very much the KFC drive-through of motivations, a bit, isn't it? That's a callback.
It's a callback. I'm done with whatever that was, by the way. So if I'm dead tomorrow, you'll know why.
I can still taste it.
Yes.
On Wednesday, early morning, and Reese returns the speed dial van to outside the restaurant and narrowly avoids Alya and Maria, who are out prepping for the market and more bothered about gossiping about Spider. Women.
Right, because somehow they also know that Spider is an undercover cop now.
Well, Toya's taken out an advert in the Weather Gazette.
She's standing on the street going, oye, oye, oye.
There's a picture of Spider with necklace
She's wearing one of those beef eater she's wearing one of those beef eater costumes that
town crier.
Right, but they're dressed like beef eaters.
No, they're not.
The one for the crown is, or not the crown, but the royal family, the one that announces that babies have been born and stuff. They've got like the big poofy black hat and the collar and the red jacket.
They're not beef eaters.
That's what I think a beef eater is, because that's the guy on the bottle of beef eaters. What even is a beef eater?
We'll talk. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Spider is still unconscious and being prepped for more brain surgery. Leanne is there to comfort Toya, poor Toya, who doesn't want to lose him now that she's just got him back. At the racist camp, Max gets up late and is curious to notice the speed dial van that was there last night has gone.
For those following, a crowbar will do more damage to a human being than a van.
Right.
At high speed.
So yeah, Max is curious about the van that's
no longer
was there
there
last night and it's gone. It's sorted, says Reese. It was smashed to bits and it's sitting at the bottom of the canal now. Maybe that was what Nina bumped her head on.
It's 6 inches of water.
They're getting ready for the protest, but Griff tells Max to sit this one out. It could get pretty tasty today. So back at Racism HQ, Max is packing his stuff when Racist Kelly comes in. He explains that the gang might have killed Spider last night and Spider was a copper. Racist Kelly finds this hard to believe. She obviously hasn't read the paper. Oh. So Max has to explain what really happened on the camping trip, about how the car exploded and stuff, and something big is being planned for today. Back in the street, the preparations are underway at the market with a big turnout expected. After Spider's attack, homeless Stu is worried about their safety, but Yasmin reckons it'll all be fine. She's pretty drunk. Round the corner, Reese calls Racist Kelly, and she is horrified to learn... No. Round the corner, Reese calls Racist Kelly, and he's horrified to learn that she's at the market and tells her to get as far away as possible. So she and Max split up, him telling her to phone the police. I was quite surprised that she isn't racist. She doesn't know what any of these...
Well, she's afraid of brown people. She is afraid of brown people.
Thanks to her dad.
Right.
But she's not really part of the gang.
Yeah, she's not a terrorist.
No.
She doesn't want to kill people. But she still is racist.
Yes. Yeah. She's still racist, Kelly.
Right.
She's not maybe as racist.
No, she's still pretty racist.
Pretty racist then.
Yeah. She thinks all brown people are going to kill her.
Or rape her.
Or rape her.
Yeah.
Yes. That's pretty racist.
Quite racist then.
Yes.
With the Peace Market officially opened by Maria, a frantic Max arrives warning deaf ears that they need to get the fuck away from the market. He explains about the van being stolen and supposedly dumped in the canal, but yet there it is. He's sure that the racist gang have done something to the van. Yasmin just wants to ignore him, but Alya investigates and finds a large black ball with a hissing fuse under the steering wheel. Holy shit, she says, it's a bomb. Deciding that there are too many people at the market and they'd only panic, Alya opts to drive the van away, much to Yasmin's protests.
Well, she says, all right, you guys, Yasmin protests. So Alya says, okay, you two go and clear everybody out. So they leave her alone with the van then are surprised when she drives away. Like Sandra Bullock. In Speed. Unfortunately, without Keanu Reeves.
Speed, which in France should have been called Vitesse, but instead was called speed. Thank you, Eddie Izzard, for that joke.
Yes.
Round the corner, Reese and all the racists jump into a Peugeot 105 and hightail it away. How many racists can you fit in a Peugeot 105?
5.
3. You probably could fit 5.
They're racist, and yet they're in a French car. Interesting.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Because a British car would be...
Shit.
Anyway. Mary and Gary are shocked to learn about the bomb, and Max is worried that there may be more. Homeless Stu, Max and Gary are about to tell people to calmly leave. Everyone stay calm, but the market is about to blow up. When Yasmin decides that now is the time to tell Max that this is all his fault.
Right.
He says that he never planted no bomb, so Gary points out that he was in the gang that did. So
right.
there.
Yeah.
Nina.
And also lied about the other bomb that blew him up.
Alya seems to be driving around busy roads deliberately here, and the red wreck. So on the phone to Yasmin suggests going to the canal. Checking the timer, Alya reckons that she can make it. Meanwhile, Max goes to number 8 to tell David, who only seems bothered that Max didn't plant the bomb, and it was the terrorists that done it. My dad's not a terrorist, says racist Kelly. Yeah, well, he planted a fucking bomb, so I guess he is, says David.
Right, yes.
He tells them both to keep their heads down and pray. So Alya makes it to the waste ground when the van explodes, with her in it, and the fireball is seen for miles around. Holy fucking shit, says Yasmin, who's so drunk.
You stop.
But next we see that Alya must be like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
And also
Or
Max with the
in
other
Coronation
bomb.
Street. And is lying unconscious at the side of the burning van that's still full of petrol.
So I guess what happened here, because she did have the door open. She was about ready to get out when it exploded. So maybe the explosion blew her out of the car, of the van. And so she obviously has a head wound. She's bleeding from the head. So she's been blown out and she's hit her head on the pavement. So this is head wound number 4 for Coronation Street in the past 7-ish days.
Meanwhile, PC Tinker has begun his investigations and very quickly manages to return Alya to Yasmin's, saying that he found her wandering around Balaclava Street and she's refused to go to the hospital because Spider is in one bed and the sheets are still warm in the other bed from Sinkhole Leo's dad.
She's been blown out of a van. She has a head wound and she's walking around the streets. And it doesn't matter that she's refusing. Craig, she was just blown out of a van. Take her to the fucking hospital.
She seems like she's just woken up or is trying to do maths in her head.
And somehow she's in a tracksuit now.
Back up at the hospital, Spider wakes up. Toya declares her love and says that she'll stick by him no matter what, even if he stays a shitty undercover cop. But there's a couple of things I need to tell you about that. She fills him in and then tells him what happened, how Alya saved the day and how Griff is on the run. Spider insists that Max wasn't one of the racists.
He is one of the racists.
He's definitely one of the racists.
And also, here's Spider, who's had 2 surgeries now. 2 surgeries on his head for a brain bleed. Still has all his hair. And is speaking in coherent sentences.
Well, he thinks that Max wasn't one of the racists, so
well,
he's obviously not.
There's something. Okay.
Right.
I suppose that makes it all better.
Back at number 8, David wants to send Max to London with Shona until this blows over. But Max wants to tell the truth, so when PC Tinker comes to speak to him, against David's wishes, he's taken away to the station while Yasmin and Alya look on, and that's how we end this week's episodes.
David, shitty parent of the week.
Right.
What the hell, man? After almost turning his kid in himself a few weeks ago.
Well, he tried to, yeah.
Yeah. David, do you remember you were going to turn this kid in for shit like this? And now you want him to go on the lam and run away to London?
Mm-hmm. London?
After he's been involved in a bomb plot?
Mm-hmm.
And Max explains to him, no, I knew that they were building a bomb because it wasn't a camp stove.
Because they nearly blew me up last week.
They nearly blew me up last week. Oh, so I guess that's five head wounds. Because Max had to have gotten a head wound when he was blown out of a car.
No, it was just his arms. That was just his arms. It
His
was his arms
arms
that
got-
knocked him unconscious.
Yeah, he was knocked unconscious and he only got some burns on his arms, which are gone now.
Yeah.
No scarring.
No, his arms are still there.
Yeah, but the bandages are gone.
I know.
And there's no scarring. So this is 5 people, 4 of whom are already walking around and speaking in coherent sentences, who've had head wounds in the past week.
Yeah.
5 people.
Toya is right, though, when she says to Spider, he was doing all their social media stuff. Of course he
Right.
was involved in it.
Yeah, and of course he was racist for making these videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not.
I've got to question whoever's making their bombs, though. Because that's twice that they've gone off with people in. Let's
Very
give them
close
some of the benefit of the doubt and say that in close proximity to that explosion and been essentially fine.
Yeah, let's remember these are 2 people who've been in vehicles that have been blown up and walked away and been fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's remember how Imran died. Wearing his seatbelt with an airbag in a head-on collision where he was able to get his wife out of the car first before conveniently dying
Right.
at the foot of an ambulance after walking around and speaking coherently.
Yeah. Collapsing with a team of paramedics round about him.
If they're
Alya managed to walk away from it on her own.
right,
At least Max needed to be taken
And-
to the hospital.
and somehow got the jam off of her face. What is going on here?
When you saw
if you're
that-
going to commit to something, if you're going to say, "Oh, it's horrific what's going to happen next week," you know, so and so is in peril. Actually, fucking put them in peril. Give us a cliffhanger where we don't know if they're going to live or die between today and Monday. You could have had Spider and Alya on cliffhangers. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I can't wait to watch on Monday and see whether or not they live.
This is all done for the anticipation of the commercial break, where at the start of the break you've seen the explosion, and when we come back from commercial break you see Alya lying on the ground. So it's for the tension that creates for those 3 minutes when
Right.
the show's not on. What should have happened is
Give us a whole weekend of tension.
what should have happened is one of 2 things. The first thing that could have happened is, let's see Alya get out of the van properly and run away, and the
Right.
explosion goes off and it
And then
throws
she
her to
goes,
the ground. Right?
"Ah," and falls.
And there could still be peril there, but
Right.
at least we've seen her get out
Right.
of the van. This is kind of cheating. If you've seen the movie Misery, the whole reason why Kathy Bates goes all Kathy Bates is because of cheating. And this is cheating because, as far as we're concerned as the viewer, Alya, just like Max,
Got blown
was
up.
in that car when it blew up,
Yeah.
and should be dead.
Yes.
So they're cheating by having her
Or at
outside
least
of it.
at least have lost body parts.
So the first thing that could have happened is that Alya is running away from the van. The explosion goes off. She gets thrown to the ground. There's still her life
Tension.
is still in danger.
Yes.
The second thing they could have done is kill Alya,
Yeah.
and that's a huge thing to do for a popular character, a character that I like and I have no desire to see go out with the
Right.
show. But if you've got any balls, kill her off.
Right.
Because now suddenly we've upped the ante.
Or kill somebody off.
Right.
That's 5 people who could have died. And not one of them dies. Not one of them has any permanent damage done to them. At least Shona has permanent brain damage from being shot in the stomach. You know? And yes, that's kind of waned a little bit. But it happened. One of these, and I guess, okay, Teddy lost his memory. But we know that's going to eventually come back, right?
Next week, probably, yeah.
It's going to come back. We have nothing, no tension that's going to have the internet talking all weekend long. Oh my God, what happened to Alya? What's going to happen? I can't wait to watch Monday. Do you think she's alive or dead? Click yes or no. Twitter polls, Facebook polls. They could have They could have broken the internet.
Well, they could have
Ish.
broken Corrie Twitter.
Right. Yeah. And instead, everybody's fine by the end of the week.
Max has gone off to get questioned and
Right.
presumably is going to be persona non grata when he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine how worse that would be if somebody
Alya
had
was
died.
dead.
And if Alya had died.
Right. I suppose they don't want to kill off another brown person this quickly after Imran.
Probably not. But this is the...
And then Rana before him.
And plus, who doesn't like Alya?
Right.
But they did this with Seb. Seb
Right.
dying was a real shock to me. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that at all. And it's the same kind of deal. It's like you've got I'm
long-standing character.
I'm reluctant to call it the hate crime thing, but you've got that attack that has huge ramifications because
Yes.
a character has died.
Right.
If Seb hadn't died and did both him and Nina had pulled through, that story isn't anywhere near as impactful as it was.
No.
And
Nobody's
this is-
winning awards for that.
And this is going to be the same thing. You had the chance to do something brave by killing off a reasonably popular character.
Right. And think of the ramifications. Think of the ramifications with Seb dying. It put Abby in a tailspin. It had the young people gang kind of split up into factions. It gave Kelly foster parents, and a new life and a new family. It helped introduce homeless Stu. It did an awful lot.
It gave Abby a baby,
Right.
and it eventually killed Imran.
Right.
All going back to Seb's death.
Think about what could have happened if you had done the brave thing and killed somebody off. It doesn't have to be Alya. It could be any one of these 5 characters. You can't just solve something like this in a week. That's it's cheating and it's cheap and it's not going to win awards and it's not going to win you any new viewers.
I don't
and
really
it's
care
going to
about
make you lose
it winning
viewers.
awards or not, but it needs to
But
be.
it's just
I just want it to be a compelling story, and I think they've been doing the racist story
Fairly
quite
well, yeah.
because racists are complaining about it.
yes.
And that's the best thing that comes out of it.
Right.
Is that it's touching a nerve with people who aren't
Who don't think
should
they're
be,
racist.
Who should be sort of looking in the mirror a little bit more and wondering why they're so angry about it. But it's doing some good work here that hasn't been done historically with this kind of storyline. As long as we've been doing this podcast, it's always been we've solved racism this week,
Right.
and then we've solved homophobia the week after that.
We solved
This is-
homelessness.
This is one that has been going on for a decent period of time.
And it's been building up and building up.
And if anything, I feel it's maybe been done a little too quickly. But anyway, has been done gradually and more gradually before. But this ending to it
Right.
kind of undoes some of that work.
Right. Yeah. It's like we felt like the show had been listening to people like Dr. Sharon Sherman and people like us and Mersey Tart also has said things like in order to do a story like this, it can't be some villain who shows up briefly, is racist, and then goes away again.
Yeah, we've complained about that so often.
You've got to invest people on the street into it. You've got to make one of these people racist.
I still think they missed a trick by not making Craig the racist.
Right. Well, they briefly made Craig the racist, and
But it
then
was really
he,
his colleague
Well-
who we'd never seen before and we'd never see again.
right. But he was socially racist
Right.
because he defended the white colleague over his black friend, and that's like some of the shittiest racism there is stuff like that, like trying to explain away the actions of a racist, and which is being done again by Spider, of all people.
Right.
And David to an extent, saying, well, you're not the one who planted the bomb. Well, David, he's the one who created all these social media posts to get interest in the bomb.
Right.
Only it wasn't even really that. I mean, what really did the social media do?
Nothing really.
Nothing really, because they didn't get new members of their gang. I don't know if they had any, because remember when Griff was talking about wanting to recruit more young people? Mm-hmm. That never happened.
No, and it turned out not to be a nonce after all.
That would have, well,
Not yet.
Not yet, but I don't think he is. But then again, I think that Esther and Mike are human traffickers and you don't. So it all evens out in the wash. This is how you have a happy marriage. But it's just...
With human traffickers and nonsense?
agreeing to disagree.
Oh, I see.
And being fine with it. Yeah, so they built up all this good faith and then they just kind of scuppered it by, you know, solving it very neatly and everybody being alive and there being no, oh my God, are they going to make it to Monday sort of thing. You know, it's just so infuriating.
Yeah, I feel like an opportunity missed to carry this bold story to finish it in a bold manner.
Right.
It feels like, as far as we know from what we've seen, it feels like they've missed a trick. And
absolutely.
They've kind of chickened out of it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Alya should be in the hospital at least. And she's not. Even Max got sent to the hospital. And that wasn't nearly as powerful. He wasn't practically sitting on the bomb. Alya was practically sitting on the bomb. It was right under the steering wheel.
Right. Oh, well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Tell me, Helen, what was your headwind of the week? I mean, moment of the week.
Shona.
Shona and Lily?
Shona and Lily.
Or is it Billy with...
No, it's Shona and Lily.
Is it?
Yeah, I haven't forgiven Billy yet.
That was pretty good as well.
It was very good.
That is our... Well...
And we've never given it to Lily.
I don't think so.
No, not even when she was choking on that lolly.
If ever something deserved moment of the week, it was that.
Or pointing out how unfair it was that she doesn't get to go see the Northern Lights with Sam.
Shona talking to Lily about racism is our...
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Your boring moment of the week.
Is it Nina falling into the river?
No,
The
that
stream?
wasn't boring.
It was not what we were promised. How's that?
Well, I wasn't promised anything because I didn't know about it.
Well, you forced me to do Corrie News, so unfortunately.
I'm just trying to get you involved, Helen. That's all it is.
Geez, Daniel wasn't in it this week.
No.
Neither was Ken.
No, now that Daniel's cancer scare's over.
And Chesney was actually not boring this week. That's why I'm calling him Chesney again.
You've just forgot to call him Chauncey. That's what that is.
No, because you said Chauncey, so it reminded me before we even started talking about that story. There was a scene, it was either, there was a scene in The Rovers where somebody walks in and says, oh, there's an awful lot of sirens going on outside. I wonder what that's all about. That's my boring moment of the week.
I can't be bothered thinking about another one, so that'll do. That's our...
Boring moment of the week.
What's all the ambulances for?
Well, I think that about wraps up for another week, doesn't it?
Yes. What was your head wound of the week?
Oh, my favourite headwind was... I think it was Spider.
Was it Nina?
No.
No, Spiders was funnier.
Spiders was definitely
and
funnier.
created a million memes with the Wilhelm scream and the boing.
I think the Wilhelm scream goes quite nicely with it.
Yeah. Oh!
If you've ever been blown up by racism, write in to tell us about it. We are the talk of the street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and Mastodon. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week with more
I'll talk of the street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.